Okay, I wanted to make a quick, hopefully quick video that explains grading for independent work, specifically how it could be confusing when we are using Mile 9. Now, before I get into the details of it, first I just want to tell you the basics. And with the basics, this is really all you need to know. But if after that you still want more information, then you can keep on listening. So here's the basics. You have to get 100 points of independent work, right? And generally speaking, you have about 10 weeks to do that. And I'm saying generally speaking because I intend to use this video in later semesters, so I don't want to get too specific. But generally speaking, you have to get 100 points of independent work by a certain due date, right? You just focus on that and everything will be fine. The rest of this is just details that you really don't even need to worry about. The idea here is you just keep turning in as many assignments as needed until you hit 100 points, right? So notice I didn't say you need to turn in 100 assignments, or you need to turn in 10 assignments, or you need to turn in 20 assignments, whatever. There's no specific number of assignments. You just keep turning in assignments until you hit 100 points, and you want to do that before the due date, right? That's the basics. Everything else is just details that are really not that important, but I will explain it just in case you're curious. So the basics out of the way, let's look at this another way. Given the fact that I have mid-report or midterm grades to turn in, and given the fact that student athletes need progress reports occasionally, and given the fact that students like to know how they are doing, because you have to have 100 points by a certain due date, generally speaking, after 10 weeks, that breaks down to about 10 points per week. So, in theory, by the end of week one, now you can look at the screen here, by the end of week one, where it says independent work one, by the end of that week, you should have 10 points, right? By the end of week two, you should have a total of 20 points. By the end of week three, you should have a total of 30 points, so on and so forth. Now, the only reason that matters is because if you ask for your grade, then that's going to count in, right? So take this person, for example. Right now, they should have 90 points of independent work, but they have 0.25 points. So their grade is going to currently look very bad. Right? It's going to reflect very poorly. But in theory, and again, this goes back to the big picture thing I was telling you about, this person has until the due date, which will be the end of this week, to get 100 points. So yes, this person's grade has been reflecting very poorly all semester, but in theory, they can get the full 100 points. And the fact that they had a poor grades all semester is essentially erased, right? So again, focus on the fact that you need to get 100 points. And again, it's broken down per week, just in case you're wondering where you're at. What is your grade? Again, at the end of week 7, technically they should have 70 points, and your overall grade for the course will reflect technically what you should have. All right. The last thing to explain is when I do this, I add it not per week, right? So let's say, for example, again, we're in week 10, right? Week 10 is about to be over. When this person turns something in, let's say they turn in 5 points worth of work. I'm not going to put it right here at week 10. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to add it here, right? I'm going to add it here, and I'll keep going. So once that hits 10, then the next time they turn something in, then I'll start adding it there, right? So on and so forth. And that's the way it works. So when you see, again, I'm going to use this person as an example. If they turn in 5 points of work this week, it's going to, then their grade's going to show right here. It'll show 5.25, right? But they're going to look here. And if they're looking at the grades and they'll say, well, I turned in something on week 10. Why is it a 0? Or why are there no points? And it's because I'm adding it to the original, right? So again, once this one hits 10, then I'll start adding it to this one. And then once that one hits 10, then I'll start adding it to this one, so on and so forth. So again, when you're looking at your own grade and you're wondering like, well, I know I turned something in on week 8, but I still have a 0. It's because, again, I go fill this one up to 10, and then I fill this one up to 10, and then I fill this one up to 10. And finally, another thing I want to really emphasize here, because it seems to be a big misconception. Independent work 1 doesn't mean your first assignment, and independent work 2 is not your second assignment. Independent work 3 is not your third assignment. This is week 1, week 2, week 3, right? So for week 1, you're trying to get 10 points, right? Now, you might get 10 points with one assignment. or maybe you have to turn in 2 assignments or 3 assignments. It doesn't matter. You just keep turning stuff in until you hit your 10 points. And then finally, the last example I'll give you, again, let's imagine this is week 1, right? So forget all these other zeros. Let's imagine this is week 1. This person has 0.25 points. Now imagine on week 1, they send me a really long paper and it's very, very well written, and they earn 20 points. So what their grade is going to look like, it'll show 10 here and then 10 here. Even though we're not into week 2 yet, hypothetically, right? In this scenario, we're not into week 2. I've added it there. So I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, then let me know. And again, the most important thing to focus on is the fact that you need to hit 100 points by the end of the due date. And you just need to keep turning stuff in. Doesn't matter how many assignments you turn in, right? Just keep going until you hit 100 points. Because again, I want to reemphasize this, and it was the first time I've said it in this video, but I've said it a lot previously. There is no minimum length for your papers. You can turn in a paper that's 2 sentences long. Now, it's not going to be worth many points, but that's okay. You just have to keep doing more of those, right? If you do shorter papers, you just have to write more of them because you're in control. If you like writing short papers, I want you to write short papers. If you like writing long papers, I want you to write long papers. So get your 100 points before the end of the due date. And that's the most important thing. But if after watching this video, you still have questions, please let me know because I would love to clarify it for you. And I apologize that I didn't make this video earlier for those of you who are in my current semester because many of you have been doing great with independent work. So I assumed everyone understood. But again, if you have any questions, let me know. And I'm going to end this video.